G'day everyone. Awesome to be here. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. I do have a bit of a tremor. That's not because I'm nervous, I just have a slight neurological thing. I'm actually really excited. Like, I've been working on this thing for the whole week. I've been building these demos. Every day I came up with this new idea for an AI demo, and I actually had to stop because it was just getting out of hand. But before I get into what I want to cover today, which is starting off with my wife and the situation we've had there, I really want to talk about the AI ecosystem as it relates to Ruby now, because things we can do now we could not do a year ago. And I want to show that actually it's pretty easy. So before we get into that, we had our game out the back that some of you have played, and you got your ducks and some got gift cards. We had gift cards left, so I wanted to give them to the people I think deserved it most from this last 2 days. So I wanted to present it to the Ruby Australia team. So what I'm going to do is while they come up, I'm going to play a quick song. It's the last song recorded from my wife before she lost her voice. It's a bit of a rough recording, but it's special to me. And while they come up, they can just come up on here. Errol's going to present them with a gift card. And guys, thank you. It's been an amazing 2 days. You guys have killed it. So if Nick, Lee, Mark, Ben, Daniel, Claire, Sophie, and Turner want to come up, that'd be great. Audio. So this is my wife, Peggy. She's the soprano. She's the one that held that fairly amazing note. It kind of gets me every time these days. So she's a trained classical singer. She's performed with Opera Victoria. And about a year ago, she started to lose her voice. And it's been tough, to say the least. And she's at the point now where I struggle to understand her. So I went, bugger that for a bunch of bananas. I'm going to do something about this. And that's what sort of led me to what I'm doing today and really got me. I've always been interested in AI, but it really sent me deep down the rabbit hole of AI to find solutions to what happened. So I'm just going to play that one last bit again, that high note, because I tell you, it gets me every time. All right, so what I wanted to build for her was an app where she could communicate in her voice, not one of those artificially constructed, digital clipping ones that we sometimes have seen in the past. And luckily, this year, the technology has come out where we can do this. So I was able to find, thank God, a 1-minute interview that she'd done a number of years ago. And apart from her voice message, which was fairly bad quality, that's it. That's all I had. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview, at least a small segment of it, so you can hear her voice. And then I'm going to play to you what the AI voice cloning did with that just 1 minute of audio.
I'm Peggy, and I'm a mum of 3 girls. I look after my daughters full time. Most of the time, I'll be helping them do their homework, or they'll be helping me bake. They love baking cookies, they love baking cupcakes, they love baking anything.
Okay, so I took that 1 minute clip and I've used the service 11 Labs, which is the leader in AI voice cloning at the moment. So let's have a look and see how this compares.
Hello, Ruby Australia. I hope you are all having an amazing time this week. I'd like to introduce to you my husband, Kane. He has been working very hard on artificial intelligence for the past year. I hope you enjoy his talk today.
Okay, so that's after 1 minute clip. Now, I know, and I noticed, there's a slight British tang. So what I've noticed is that the AI models, they take the Australian accent and they kind of Briticize it a little bit. But if I had more time in terms of audio, the AI would handle that. Now, luckily, that interview that she did a number of years ago, I've spoken with the crew. They've got the original recordings, which has got about an hour of recording. So 11 Labs has a professional cloning service where you can send larger amounts, and that will do a whole training of the AI, spend months, and get it to, well, I think if that's a minute, what they're going to do with an hour and tons of training is going to be quite impressive, I'd say. So I'm looking forward to that. But my view of the fact was that when life gives you lemons, make an app. So that's been my philosophy on this one. Now, the next piece I'm working on, AI is just a phone call away, is one thing she really struggles with is calling call centres because of the inability of her to get a communication across. So I'm working on something right now. It's partly in progress. It's not done yet. But Caitlin, I think you might have a phone call about to come in. Now, I'm breaking the cardinal rule here of live presentations by doing a live demo. But if you can come up here. Oh, you've got the...
Hello. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
You can hear me from anywhere.
You ready? So some of you may recognise who this particular person is. Let me just run my script here and...
Hello, Caitlin.
Speak.
It's Matt calling all the way from Japan.
It's Matt.
Hello to all my Ruby friends from Australia. I hope you have been having an amazing time the last 2 days. Caitlin, I heard that you and Toby have done a great job of MCs for the event. I think the audience should give you a big round of applause.
And Caitlin, there's a gift card for you there as well. Errol will give it. Toby already got one. I would have given you one otherwise. So what we need to look at, though, is the dark side of AI. Because if you think about how easy it is to clone someone's voice, where can this go wrong? Because it absolutely is a double-edged sword. If you look at deepfakes, voice cloning, and the new lip sync AI that's just come out, which has a little bit of tweaking to do, give it 6 months, we are not going to know the difference between a real person online and a fake. And it's not to fearmonger, but it's to be vigilant. That it's time to start validating information from multiple sources, not just what we necessarily see in one video. So in order to test this, I cloned my own voice, and I created a message for my daughter, and I created a message for my accounts team here at Reinteractive.
Hi, Emily. There has been an emergency, and Mum is in hospital. I can't pick you up from school. My friend Tom is going to pick you up. Please go to the IGA near school, and Tom will get you in his white van. Sorry, I have to go. Something has happened to Mum.
Okay, so if you imagine your kid gets that as a voicemail after they come out of school. And I did speak to my daughter about this, and she said if I'd had that as a voicemail, I would have known the difference. So the other one I haven't tried yet, but I'm going to just to see how my accounts team responds to this.
Hi, Sarah. It's Kane. I am about to send you an email. I urgently need a bill paid for a marketing service, or we will get cut off. As soon as you get the email, could you please transfer the funds? Thanks.
So again, so my accounts person's in the US at the moment, so I'm going to send this overnight or during the day when she's going to get it as a voicemail, and then I'll talk to her afterwards. I'm going to see how she reacted to it. It's a bit of a test on my side. But there was a company in Hong Kong that recently got done for $10 million because of this technology. An accounts person received a link to, I think it was like a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, and on that call was the CFO. And the CFO said, I need you to transfer $10 million to this account right now. Accounts person's like, well, okay, the CFO said it. It was deepfake voice cloning, and they got done for $10 million. This just recently happened. So there is definitely a dark side here, and we need to start taking it seriously. The other thing I tested yesterday, the number of companies are using voice to authenticate. You call in and my voice authenticates me and so on. So I cloned my voice with 1 minute, rang the service of a very big institution, got through fine. So all you need is go on YouTube, download someone's voice, clone it, you're in. So these companies are going to have to change fast because the technology is just outpacing them. Now, in terms of the architecture for what I built with what Caitlin received the call, so I'm using Ruby backend, 11 labs to do the voice cloning, and Twilio to do the phone call transfer. So it's very simple. It's just an API call to 11 labs with the text. Very quickly, it returns the audio as a binary file. You shoot that off to Twilio, off it goes as the phone call. So one thing I haven't quite solved yet, and if anyone has an idea on how to solve it, I actually would be very interested, is how I can run this in real time, meaning I can have my wife on the web app, a bit like a Google Meet or something like that, so she can be on the call, she can type, it'll translate. The thing I can't get is how to get the voice call coming through the web browser. So if anyone knows that solution, please. Now, I want to show you this code, not because you need to understand the code per se, but to show you that in order to run voice cloning, like this is it. Once you've trained the model, which is a drag and drop, then you're basically making an API call, sending in the data that you want it to clone, and off you go. And then if you add that to the key Twilio code, I've just had someone's phone number in there, which I've closed off, then this is simple. And the point I want to make about this whole presentation is AI, well, it's not just a phone call away, but actually it's an API call away. And what used to take a machine learning expert who'd done master's degrees and all these sorts of things, which I started doing, and I stopped because the technology was outpacing the lecturers. I had no idea what was happening. But now, as a Ruby dev, things that you couldn't even do a year ago, or a machine learning expert would find hard, you can do with ease now. So one of the ones I started looking at was Vision API, because that's notoriously difficult to work with, and you'd have to use like AWS and Azure, do lots of training with different images and all these sorts of things. So this is a demo I created in about an hour. I was just playing around. So what I created here was, this is for like a laundromat business. So the idea would be the garment comes in, a photo's taken of the garment prior to cleaning, and then once it's cleaned, a second photo is taken after cleaning and run through the AI. So you can see here you've got the left-hand side before cleaning has got the decent stain. After cleaning, it's definitely reduced, but there's still a stain there. So the idea would be that the AI would be able to make a decision on, should this go back? It's quite a quality check. And I'm going to show you here just running the script, and the AI is going to generate a JSON response, which of course, as a Ruby dev, you can then do whatever you want with it. So I'm just going to run this code now. All right, so it's calling the Claude 3 Vision API. Claude 3 is the best model for vision at the moment. It's the Anthropic model. And that's just generating the response. Now what that's done, it's returned the JSON. So shirt 1, stain found, true. The second line is describing the details of the yellow stain, the approximate size of it. Then number 2 is there a stain on the second shirt? True. And then it describes the details of the second shirt again, and the size of that stain, which is reduced to 2 inches from 4, and it gives it a quality score out of 100. In this case, 60, which then as a Rails dev, you just decide where you want to route that particular activity. So I didn't train that model at all, and that took me like about an hour to write, and if I actually spend time training this thing, now you've got a very powerful quality control system, which doesn't require, again, intense knowledge of machine learning to get it done. So the architecture for this one is you've got the Ruby backend. It just sends the prompt along with an image URL to the Claude or the Anthropic AI, which just sends a response. Again, it's just an API call, and it's so simple. I want to say just a couple of things about neural networks. I don't want to get too in-depth into it, just enough so when people are talking about all these different models that are now available, what they actually mean. But my history of AI started about 15, or when I was about 15, when I was trying to get these little, the first computer program that came out, which was like a chatbot. It was fairly clunky, and it would always go into like a circular conversation. We've done some AI in older times. We had a fintech that Paul Fioventi, who a number of you know, used to work with us at Reinteractive. We had to build that model from scratch. It's like 1,000 lines of code. We do the same thing in about 20 lines of code now. And we've also been working with New South Wales State Library. They have a lot of oral histories, which would otherwise kind of just disappear. So they've all been translated using AI. And AI is not perfect. It's probably about 80% accuracy. We've got a whole system where people then come in. It's like a community action. They come in and they listen to the recording and the AI transcript, and they make corrections. And that's been a huge amount of fun. So this is, you know, the sort of a very interesting diagram of a neural network. And generally with a neural network, what it's trying to do is, a lot of them are classifying. So they'll take an image of a cat, and it's trying to determine, is it a cat, is it a dog, and so on. But the thing I want to talk about is often when we're talking about AI models, and especially when we're in the open source space, you'll hear, for example, that well, I think, you know, GPT-3 was supposed to be, what, 500 billion parameters, and GPT-4 is rumoured at like 1.2 trillion parameters. And the question is, what does that actually mean? So I wanted to cover that very briefly. So on this diagram, the first point where the cat is, that's the entry point where the data comes in. All these other points are nodes, and it's passing pixels through all these nodes, and it's trying to find the pattern being a certain arrangement of pixels equals a cat. Each one of these, the purple and the, I guess, yellow, these are all called nodes. And a node has a bias and it has a weight. And these get adjusted through training to determine the pattern to find it. Now, basically, the number of nodes multiplied by weights and biases is the parameters of a model. So effectively, the more of these you've got, the more the parameters of that model. So when and the idea is the more of these you have, the more complicated patterns it can determine. You know, a model like this, which you could code in Ruby in about 50 lines of code, would never be able to determine what a cat was. So they have to, and that's what's making AI so powerful now, is one, that's the compute power and the ability to have these huge neural networks that can create these fantastic formulas to determine these patterns. And that's all AI is. It's just patterns, patterns, patterns. It's all it determines. There's no magic behind AI. If you look at the maths behind AI, like anyone who gets to a first year university can learn that maths. There's nothing magic about it. There's no sentience in AI at the moment. It's just maths that with such a huge amount of data, it can find these patterns, and all it does is it generates these huge formulas. Like if it's a 70 billion parameter AI, there's like 70 billion items in this formula. It's like y equals x squared plus y squared plus, you know, and on and on and on. That's all it is. But it is very good at finding patterns. The problem with that, and you might have seen this with things like AI blogs all start to sound the same. And the reason they all start to sound the same is because the AI's just found patterns, and then it's, even though it's creating a blog, it's just taking what you've input and finding the pattern that best matches what it's been trained on. I despise AI blogs these days. I tried it when it first came out. Like, I can look at a blog now, and within like the first 2 sentences, I'll go, yep, AI, run it through the AI detector, yeah, it was AI. They all say the same, in the ever-increasing and fast-paced world of Ruby on Rails, like, they all start the same, right? So the things I want to cover for the rest of this time today is, I'm not going to get too heavy technically, but I want to give you enough insight of the things that you need to understand and the things you need to go and learn so that you can start implementing AI and getting lots of successes with it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about prompting. Knowledge retrieval, I think, is the bare bones of AI these days, which I'll show you. Fine-tuning, which is basically taking a GPT and creating your own version of it. And I'll talk a little bit about open source, which is where I think a lot of us should be headed as well. So in terms of prompting, look, I could spend a day talking about prompting, and it's an art. It is absolutely an art. There are some art science to it, but primarily it is very much a trial and error. You start to think like the AI thinks, and there's no substitute for just prompting, 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 reading, prompting, seeing what happens. One thing, though, that does help the AI is a very precision of instructions. Vague instructions, the AI will give you a vague response. Precise instructions will give you a precise response. And understanding what output you want will determine whether you go precise or vague with the AI. Each word has to be carefully selected. You can write a sentence with read the text and summarise it simply, and change that to read the text and provide a decent summary. Those two prompts will give you potentially very different outputs. And when you're working on a production-grade application, it's like you're going to spend hours changing a word here and a word there until the prompt gives you specifically what you're after. They take time to develop, but anyone can do it, anyone can learn it because it is natural language. And it does work for software developers because we tend to be more precise in our thinking than, say, the general public, who can be a little bit more vague. But if you have a look at the idea of this is part of a prompt I've taken the key data out, but it's similar to what we're working on for a particular client. This is one of 800 lines for this particular prompt. Here you've got a whole series of instructions, and those instructions go on, and they're just precision, 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 precision. When AI first sort of started about, well, a year ago really, when you sent a prompt to OpenAI, you had about a window of 3,000 words that it would accept. Now, just recently, OpenAI can now accept about 1,000 words in the prompt. The Claude or the Anthropic models will receive about 175,000 words in a prompt. And just in the last 24 hours, which it kind of blows my mind, Google Gemini Pro Plus was released, which will accept 750,000 words in a prompt. Now, if you put that in context, all of the Lord of the Rings books is 500,000 words. So you can put the entire Lord of the Rings books into your prompts and do some pretty amazing things. So where we used to have to do very short prompts, now we can go big and we can get very precise and do all sorts of amazing things with our AI. The other thing you want to start looking at is JSON schema. AI loves being told how to respond using JSON schema. So if you haven't used it before, it's basically a way to define the structure of your JSON. And you're telling the AI, this is how I want the data back in a very precise way, particularly for when you're looking at a computer software where you need precise JSON returned. This is the way to do it. There's also settings you can set with most of the models to tell it you must give it in this particular JSON format, and it's working like spot on. So yeah, the prompting right now is, it's like there's so much more we can do because of these context windows. I'm blown away by Gemini Pro. I haven't tested it yet, but I definitely will be. So yes, that was the discussion on context windows. That's fine. Lord of the Rings. So really, to amend my statement earlier, AI is just a prompt and API call away. So you have to learn the prompting part. The API for all you guys is easy. I mean, you just read the documentation. You'll be there in no time. The other element that's really important is knowledge retrieval. So I think this is the bare bones of AI these days. So knowledge retrieval is where you can have the AI systems actually pull data from your knowledge base. So whether that's API documentation, customer documentation, now even with your code base, and you can start querying your code base. Like, where's that file where I have to do the transfer to that API endpoint? You can't remember, and you write it in, bang, it finds it for you and just directs you right to the correct file. So knowledge retrieval, you'll often hear it called as RAG, which is, now I can't even think of what it is off the top of my head. Who remembers what RAG means? Anyone? No? Retrieval augmented generation, thank you, yes. But it's knowledge retrieval. So I think right now, every API documentation needs this knowledge retrieval system. I've been working with some recently that have it. It's awesome. You don't have to read through the docs. You just go, how do I make the endpoint to do payments? And it'll just go, here's the code. You go, give it to me in Ruby. Yeah, here it is. And it just saves a huge amount of time. So knowledge retrieval works very differently. So we're very used to keyword search. We're now dealing in the realm of similarity search, or what they call semantic search, meaning semantic meaning the meaning of words. So if you've got an e-commerce store, for example, and someone would have to search for a red dress in our traditional keyword search, with similarity search, a person can come in and go, I want a formal dress, I want a long one, it probably should be red, maybe satin. And what the AI will do, it will find, based on the meaning of that, find the correct dress for that particular person. So instead of, like you find this with Google sometimes, where you put it in, Google doesn't quite do keyword search anymore, but they're not necessarily quite at this fully yet either. So just this morning, I threw this together, which took about 20 minutes. So this is Reinteractive AI, which is trained on Reinteractive's blogs and has knowledge retrieval related to our AI blog posts. So let me run this. So we ask it, how do I run AI models locally? And what that'll do is that'll actually retrieve the information related to that. The sources down the bottom actually gives the direct source to that blog. And then furthermore, I can now ask it, give me the steps to make an API call to Llama. This is the tool you use to run locally, which I'll talk about soon, using Ruby. And that will then output the very specific steps in order to do that. So this sort of thing is really, really simple. So this is using Amazon Q. Anyone who's using AWS may have recently seen a little button on the left panel, the right panel, which is basically their knowledge system and chatbot, where you can, you just ask it now. Like I was having to work out how to do an API call to one of AWS's endpoints. I just said, how do I do that API call in Ruby? And just went, done. And that would have saved me like an hour of trawling through AWS's less than awesome documentation at times. So in order to do this, we need to use a tool called vector embedding. And so in machine learning, a vector is just an array of elements, which we call an array. They call it vectors in machine learning because the exact same mathematics that they use in physics with vectors, something with direction and magnitude, the same mathematics works when you're dealing with arrays of values. So they call them vectors. And what we're basically doing is taking the meaning of information and turning it into an array of numbers and using that to search. And frankly, it's quite a genius system. So if you take the word cat, what a vector system would do is it'll turn that word cat into a whole series of numbers. It could be a few hundred different numbers. And each number, this is a bit of an analogy, so it doesn't fully work like this, but one might refer to the tense of the word and whether it's a noun or a verb, or what context is it in, what's the subject, is it capitalized, all these things that generate meaning. And it basically creates this vector. Now, you can visualize it in 2 dimensions. So it kind of plots it somewhat like that. It's a particular point in space. Now, it's not a 2-dimensional point, but this is how we potentially look at it. So if you were then to take the word dog, turn that into a vector, then plot that in that same space, there's a distance. So what we're looking at here is the similarity between them. Now, where it becomes interesting, so we add something else in, such as kitten. Now, kitten has semantic meaning much closer to cat than it does to dog. And while this is in 2 dimensions, this is what is happening, is that we can see that kitten has closer meaning to cat. So say if your organisation has articles about cats and articles about dogs only, if your user was to come in and write, what nutrition do I give my kitten, then the system will automatically know that I need to retrieve the documentation around cat. So it's doing its search based on meaning, and this is kind of like a plot of meaning in a space. Now, if you had a look at another plot where you had maybe things are great in one side and then things are not so great, you can take a phrase like RubyConf 2024. It'll split out each word. Now, the genius of it is you can take actually a whole page of text, turn it into an array or a vector, and that vector has meaning related to that entire text. So in this case, it's just a small phrase. This is what a final full vector would look like. Now, there's actually usually like 1,500 of these points, but there's a whole mathematical process that combines the words. Then it would obviously put RubyConf 2024 as similar to things that are great. Now, on the other hand, if you were to take something like JavaConf 2024, now I trained a model on this. I had nothing to do with this. Let's show what this. So this is a locally run model running on my laptop. I mean, it's a video of, but so I put in which conference should I attend in 2024? So the model's running locally. The conference you should attend in 2024 is RubyConf. Great, correct. Which conference should I avoid? Hey, it's the AI. It's like, what can I say? No, look, I'm being facetious. I have no problem with Java at all. I learnt it at university. But the idea is that's kind of how it works. Now, in terms of the whole process, I think I'm going to skip through this because I am a bit crunched on time here, and I've got a demo which may or may not work because it is a live demo, but I do have a recording of it if it fails, and I think I want to show that because it's kind of a little cool tool here. What I will show is that, generally speaking, this is more what a vector database looks like. So when you create these vectors, you store them in a specialized database called a vector database, which is optimized for doing these searches, for finding those vectors which have the closest similarity. And you'll see here that on the right-hand side, you've got the blue, which is science fiction. So this is all books. On the left-hand side, you've got the green, which is non-fiction. And you can see they're clustering. So things that have similar meaning are clustering. And so there's certain algorithms to find. If I'm searching for, I want to find a book similar to Dune, which is under science fiction, it's going to find a book in that cluster as opposed to the non-fiction cluster. Oh, this is all great, but that's okay. But the thing is, AI is just a prompt, knowledge retrieval, and API call away. We do have one client right now in the medical space where we're creating kind of like a GPT for their client data. They help employees return back to work who've been injured. And in many cases, there will be 300 or 400 emails and medical reports and correspondence relating to that patient. And so we're setting up knowledge retrieval using open source, so it's not going out of their system, to actually go, when was the last time this patient had a blood test? Bang, it'll find the blood test on the date and saves the doctor huge amounts of time in their search, having to go through, trawl through information. In terms of what I'd love to see in knowledge retrieval, I'm sure it's being worked on, is Zendesk. I'm sure there's some Zendesk people here, perhaps. We use Zendesk, like Zendesk, the ability to actually go onto Zendesk and go, what was that situation with the client where they were upset about some downtime situation? And it'll find the exact ticket on the date and retrieve that very, very fast. So Zendesk, if you're working on that, awesome. If you're not, please do. What's that? You do? Okay, well, I'll have to check it out then. They do, apparently. So there you go. Good stuff. I'll do very fast on fine-tuning as the other point. So fine-tuning is when you take the base AI models, like OpenAI's model or Claude's model or any of the OpenAI models, and you train it further on situations related to you. So knowledge retrieval goes into your data stores. Fine-tuning is when you're training the AI to do things that it hasn't done before, it's not very good at doing. So, for example, we've got a client in the trading space. They buy and sell lots of products. They get hundreds of emails a day with offers for products at discounts, but every email is different. Some of them have Excel spreadsheets. Every Excel spreadsheet's different. Every Excel spreadsheet halfway through changes its headers and all sorts of things. And there's no way programmatically to be able to parse this information. So this is where fine-tuning comes in. And fine-tuning, you use supervised learning. So what you do is you take, this is the email, and you tell the AI, this is what I would expect your response to be. And where it used to take hundreds of thousands of examples to do this, for that particular client, we could do it in 500 examples and train it up. And now they used to have 2 people manually entering all this data every day. Now 75% are automatically matched. The AI flags another 25% is going, I'm not sure about this. So they're now dealing with 25%. Now those people are now working on more human contact related roles, which is what I like to see. I don't want AI to take jobs. I want AI to free us from the mundane to do the things that we're best suited at. So you basically take that supervised learning, you pass it into the base model, like a GPT 3.5. It gets trained. It takes about an hour, and that'll generate your own version of that model, which only you can access. And again, you just make API calls to it. And fine-tuning is a way to do things that the AI might struggle with. But with fine-tuning and knowledge retrieval, there's really not much you can do, can't do, whichever way I meant to say that. So AI is just a prompt, knowledge retrieval, fine-tuning an API call away. So it's pretty straightforward. Open source is the way we're going. I love open source models. They're fantastic. The tool to use is Llama. If anyone wants this, this is a QR code for a article I wrote on how to run AI models locally. So you can literally so Llama is like a CLI tool. You download the tool. That allows you to download one of 100 open source models, and you can start working with them quite well. Open source is great, particularly for clients with proprietary data. You don't want to pass it out to an OpenAI or someone like that. And some of these models are getting really, really good, which kind of begs the question, if OpenAI and these open source models are this close, I think open source is going to be the way we go. The other one that's fantastic, AWS Bedrock. So AWS has recently brought out this product, which basically allows you to, through a single API call, work with any number of, they've got a set number of models, but you can work with these different models like Llama 2, the Claude models. Mixtral is the leading open source model. And instead of having to write lots of complex API calls, one API call and you're done. So this is the code for making an API call to Bedrock. All I have to do is change that model name there, and I can be running Vision API, I can be running on Claude, etc. It's great. All right, now this is where I try and do my demo and see if it is a success or a failure. If it fails, I'll just play the demo. But we've basically created a mini call center, not one that says in just a few words, please tell me the reason for your call, and which drives you bonkers. I just want to sort of demo how good AI is getting right now. Now, this tool I wrote in 3 hours. So one, bear that in mind, but also if it works, bear that in mind. And this is the key here. So, Toby, if you can join me on stage. I also need my call center team. If you guys can come up, please. Yep. So basically what we're going to do here is Toby's going to call the call center, though the call's going to come to us because it's too hard to do it the other way. But the idea is it's a Telstra call center. Toby's either going to select a billing issue, an internet issue, or a mobile issue. I've got 3 call center consultants here. Based on the AI's parsing of it, it'll route that call to the correct call center agent. Now, it may be that this doesn't work in, like I said, in which case I'll play the demo, and that should be sufficient. Now, Toby, I'm actually going to use my phone because I've just wanted to take out some variability in this. So let's see if this does or does not work. We'll give it about 10 seconds. Yeah. No, it's not. I figured that might be the case. So sorry about that, everyone. I'll have to give you the less exciting, but still kind of cool little version here. So this is a recording of our call center done a little bit earlier. So guys, it's cool.
Welcome to Telstra. Based on this phone number, am I speaking with Toby?
Yes, that's right. Okay, hold on. Call's coming in. Toby, I need you, mate.
Based on this phone number, am I speaking with Toby?
Yes.
Just pause for a second.
Thanks. My name is Ruth, and it's my job to get you connected with the best agent to help you. Before we proceed, can I check is your address still 10 Ruby Street?
Yes.
Thanks, Toby. How can we help you today?
I have a problem with my mobile. People keep calling me and I don't want to talk to them.
What help do you need regarding your mobile phone?
Please stop people from calling me and stuff.
Thank you. I'm going to transfer you to Beverly from the mobile team. She is a technical specialist and will definitely be able to help you out. Transferring you now. To connect your call, press 2.
This is Beverly. Can I help you?
Yep, it worked. Damn, I'm glad that works. So but the main thing I want to communicate, and this is how I'll, if I just go back, sorry, my slides here. There's so many things we can do here with this AI. So if we had a call center which took the call based on what the person was interested in or the situation, could actually route not to a call center, to a particular agent specially trained in that particular situation, or those who are from a available list. Then from there, in real time, the call could be transcribed. That data can be sent to our vector database for knowledge retrieval. So the call center operator in real time is getting information related to that person's inquiry. Because I used to work in call centers, the number of times people got stuff wrong was all the time. So mobile phone problem, can't connect. Here's the document on how you connect to a mobile phone. I read it, I tell them. At the end of the call, we transfer that data to a new AI agent to go through the transcript. Let's just say the call ended really badly. They were really upset. So the AI agent goes, all right, they're upset. I transfer that to the complaints team, who immediately calls the customer back, says, look, I understand that didn't go very well. Let's sort this out for you now. And so you take what AI has been a bit of a pain in the backside really for customer service and take it to a whole new level where the right person can give you the right advice at the right time. So to end off, AI is just a prompt, knowledge retrieval, fine-tuning, an API call, and really a sprinkle of imagination away. I've got 100 million ideas in my head. I can't do them all. Like, I just keep thinking of them every day. And I want to see the Ruby community embrace it. Like, it had to be Python before. It's not the case anymore. It's Ruby time. We can get out there and create some amazing things. If we can stay away from the things that take away the artistic jobs and move to the things that are going to actually make human interaction better, I'd love to see that. Now, for everyone, if you're interested, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing consultations with people who want to talk about AI for their apps or their projects. For you guys, this will not be a pitch. I'm literally just willing to have a chat. If you want to know how to bring AI into your platform, you want to know where to start researching, then feel free to have a chat with me. I'll talk to you any time about it. I just want to help the community. I mean, this whole event has been brilliant. The Ruby community is fantastic. And so I want to thank everyone for, well, one, giving me a job, and also for just being an amazing community. So at that point, I think we'll end off. So thank you all very much for being here.